Hey everyone, Piano Man Chuck here. I'm here today to talk about the global supply chain problem that we've all been experiencing. So, those of you that have been following me and have known me for the past 10 years of YouTubing, you know that I am a pianist, a keyboard player, and I'm heavily into pro audio gear in everything that has to do with music, basically. In fact, I became so involved that I became an online retailer. So I sell musical instruments, mainly keyboards, stage pianos, controllers, workstations, that kind of stuff, as well as pro audio gear, meaning professional mics, mixers, studio monitors, recorders, and so on and so forth. Now, I'm talking to you from the perspective of this particular field, although this applies to just about everything right now, whether it's lumber or new cars or whatever, it all applies. So I felt compelled to put this together because I have been getting so many orders from people, and unlike pre-pandemic times where customers would, they contact me with whatever they wanted to get, I give them a quote. We're both gung ho on the price and the quote, so they place their order, and usually they'd receive their merchandise anywhere from 3 to 7 days, depending on where they were in the country in relation to the warehouse that supplies them. But that all seems to have changed. Nowadays, people will contact me for a quote as usual. I'll give them a great price, but I need to tell them now that the product probably won't be in the warehouse for about 2 months. And of course, they're upset with that, and I can relate to that. I would be too. But it gets worse than that at this point in time. 2 months comes and goes, and the product still isn't there. So at that point, I've got a customer that's very upset. I'm upset. Everybody's upset. So basically, I tell them it's probably going to be another 45 to 60 days. Some of them, because I give them such good pricing, will take a chance and say, okay, let's go ahead and wait on that. Keep me in. But most of them are like, man, you told me it would be 60 days. Now it's going to be another 60 days. I can't do that. So I have to wind up refunding their money. And, everybody loses at that point. It's not a great thing, but I felt compelled to put this video together because it's not our fault. It's not the retailer's fault. It's not the warehouse fault. It's not the vendor's fault. It's not the manufacturer's fault. We have a global supply chain problem at this point. So let me talk about that. Pre-COVID days, place an order, they get it in a week or so. While COVID was happening, especially the area between March and September of 2020, when we had massive lockdowns and that kind of stuff, that was causing a lot of the delays in getting your products. And actually, it's even gotten worse since then. So I deal with a lot of vendors out there. I asked these vendors a bunch of questions in confidence. They answered, and the bottom line is I'm not going to tell you who they are or how they answered or anything like that, but I'm going to do this in terms of this is how my vendors basically acted. I actually asked each one of them 4 questions. So the first one I asked them, what do you see as the main reason for the delays in getting your products to your warehouses? So the answers were unanticipated growth or demand, logistics issues, it's a big one, customs delays. I even have one company that couldn't even announce a new product because they were waiting for that new product to come into the United States. And it was on a ship that was off the coast of California. And it's been there for 2 weeks because it's looking for docking space, which it couldn't find. I'll get more into that in a minute. Other answers were transportation/shipping delays, which would be cargo freighters, trucking, railways, and so on. All right, so the next question I asked them was, are your products affected by the parts/components shortages? So, in other words, there were A to D and D to A, in other words, analog to digital and digital to analog converters. We had a shortage in those chips, and we have a shortage in other semiconductor chips and so on. So the overwhelming answer to that question was yes. The third question I asked them, how much more time does it currently take to get products now as opposed to pre-pandemic times? Answers ranged from this. Pre-pandemic, products were in stock and at healthy levels. So if you placed an order with me, you would get your order in about a week, depending how close you were to the warehouse. If you were really close, you get it the next day. If you were a little further, you get it 5, 6, 7 business days later. But now, here's the lead times that I got back from these companies. Lead times now, and it seems to fall into two categories. Those that are saying 2 to 12 weeks. 2 to 12 weeks. Think about that. That's a long time. And it gets worse. The other category of answers was 2 to 6 months. 6 months is double the 12 weeks. All right. The last question I asked my vendors in confidence. Have you noticed any improvements now as opposed to when the world was in lockdown around March through September 2020? The overwhelming answers fell into basically two answers. No, things seem to be getting worse, and that was the overwhelming majority of answers. And a very, 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 very small answer was yes, a very slight improvement. Now, this was all done before the Delta variant, and I'm sure that has changed now. So let me go through what's going on. I actually researched and came up with 5 pages of stuff. I don't want to bore you. I want to try to minimize or summarize as quickly as possible what's going on. So, but basically, let me open with the rebound in business from U.S., Asian, and European markets after the worldwide lockdown has caused massive backlogs in the supply chain from raw material such as wood, metals, semiconductors, etc., to assembly and shipping backlogs. The delays around the world, the result of a large-scale restocking by businesses as consumer demand improves, are tying up vessel capacity, adding to a shortage of sea containers needed to move goods and sending shipping costs soaring as container freight rates rise at a historic pace. There's also a shortage of workers in these industries, causing further slowdowns. And while the pandemic is still far from over in the USA, it's even worse in many other parts of the world, all which contribute to the supply chain problem. Now, this and all my other research that I've done here, this is a couple of weeks old. I had some personal things going on, including the death of a close friend that I had to deal with. So that kind of took me away from things for a couple of weeks. But basically, the Delta variant has made things much, much worse. So all this data that I have here was based on before the Delta variant. Things have gotten worse now. So basically, let me try to sum things up. Global shipping remains a major problem. In other words, trying to get products into the USA. Humongous shipping container shortages. And let me tell you about that. Shipping containers are these huge metal things, and I'm sure you've seen those. And they're filled with goods from whatever company or products that you're ordering from. It comes on these massive cargo ships. So basically, in a perfect world, which was pre-pandemic, the ships would come in to basically ports of entry in California. We've got Los Angeles, Long Beach, San Pedro, and we have New York ports and a whole bunch of others too. So basically, they come in, we'd unload these ports, and the empty shipping containers would be filled or restocked with products that are going out from the United States to other countries. That's come to a halt. So we're not exporting as much as we used to. And in fact, that's tying up shipping containers. So we have empty containers here that are not being filled, or they're being filled very slowly. And the problem is, we need those containers to ship back to Asian countries so that they can empty that and fill that again with their products. The problem is, we're running a shortage of those containers. So products that you've ordered from overseas, it's taking a while to stock the shipping containers because they don't have them. So they're even paying a premium to get shipping containers that are empty from the US back to Asian countries so they can ship stuff, right? And once they do ship stuff, it usually takes about 13 days to get a shipping container or a shipping boat from Asia to the United States, on the western ports anyway. 13 days. The problem now is they're taking 33 days. There's no slowdown in the shipping, the actual sailing. It still takes 13 days. But because there's still so many shipping containers that are waiting to get unloaded, which is taking a lot longer now these days, that you have these massive boats filled with shipping containers sitting out there off of the coast of the United States in California and New York and some other places. They're sitting there for about 2 weeks or longer. So what used to take 13 days is now 33 days. That's one problem. The other problem is, once it gets to the port, we have a shortage of workers, just like the restaurant industry has a shortage of workers. So that is another problem. And that's complicated even further by, let me give you an example. I deal mainly with keyboards, stage, pianos, controllers, workstations, that kind of thing, as well as pro audio gear. One of the shipments that I was expecting for my customers and so on and so forth was held up another 2 weeks prematurely, because even though it was already held up all this time, customs wanted to know where the wood came from. So some of the keyboards I sell, they have wood keys. Customs wanted to know, where did the wood come from? What trees? What forest? Where did you get them from? And oh my God, we already have a problem getting things in. Customs is slowing things down anyway. And to go ahead and slow it down even further for that. So there's a lot of problems going on. A lot of things going on behind the scenes that you don't even know about. So basically, to summarize, suffice it to say, products ship from all over the world to all over the world. So let's say they're shipping from Italy and Europe and Asia, and they're coming into the United States. And once they get here, they're waiting, just off of the coast here for as much as 2 weeks for a place to dock so that the shipping containers can be unloaded, which is taking a lot longer now. Shipping containers are a lot bigger. You have less workforce now. And you have customs that are making some demands that I'm not sure they would have made in the past. And if they did, it wouldn't have taken so long. Now, cargo delivery delays, it's not just limited to ships at the shipyards. We've got railway delays. We've got trucking delays. We've got all kinds of delays. So once it gets to a company's warehouse, and if they're lucky enough to be near the port in New York or LA or whatever, once it's there, it still has to get to other warehouses in the country. And we have trucking shortages. We've got railway shortages. We've got all kinds of delays going on. So there's one particular product, brand new from a particular company, and it finally made it here. But it's been sitting here at the railways waiting to go to different warehouses across the country. It's been sitting here for 2 weeks doing nothing. So that's another problem. Now, here's the third thing. What companies get the products once they're here? So speaking from the perspective of music, keyboards, pro audio gear, that kind of thing. Let's say you got 500 units of a particular model that came in, and Sweetwater ordered 350. With some companies, Sweetwater will get the 350, but the remaining 150 units of that product is going to be distributed among the other companies that have ordered it, me included, as to when it was ordered. So basically, it's first paid, first shipped. And of course, when you have that kind of model, Sweetwater and all these other humongous companies are going to get theirs first. Then you have other vendors that say, no, we refuse to support a monopoly such as Sweetwater on our products. So if 500 units come in and Sweetwater ordered 350, and then the next biggest ordered another 100, and there's only like 20 left to distribute between 75 other companies, including me, I'm a small guy. Some companies refuse to have a monopoly on shipping. So what they'll do is they're going to make sure that every company, every retailer who ordered a product will get at least one or two. They're not going to say, oh, Sweetwater ordered 350, there's 30 left. Sorry, you didn't place enough orders. Now, it also kind of works the other way too. Here's an advantage from ordering from me. When 500 units come in and Sweetwater gets 350 of those, and I'm just a little guy, I place one order at a time. So a lot of the companies I deal with will drop ship. In other words, send directly to my customers. That's an advantage when stuff comes in, because when stuff comes into the warehouse, yeah, Sweetwater's going to get their 350. Guitar Center, Sam Ash, Kraft, Musician's Friend, all these big places, they're going to get their stuff. But since they also ship for me, first come, first serve, guess what? My customers will get their orders before Sweetwater even gets their inventory shipment in. How cool is that? So if you ordered, say, I don't know, a Dexabel SX7 MIDI sound module, and Sweetwater ordered 100 and there was only 150 coming in, my customer would get that first, because Basically, that's the model this company works off of. Now, here's another problem. In addition to everything I've talked about, shipping prices have increased by 200% or more. 200% or more. That is a lot of money. So, when you're dealing with stuff like toilet paper, paper towels, soap, toothpaste, that kind of thing, yes, it's going to cost more to ship those from one country to another. The deal is, it's not a substantial price increase that you're going to notice. So, in other words, if it goes up by 25 cents or 50 cents, yeah, you're going to complain, but you're going to pay it. It's not going to break you. When you have keyboards and pro audio gear that already cost thousands of dollars, and now the price has increased by $500 because of shipping costs and all that stuff, that's a big deal. I have lost a lot of orders because people wanted to order at a certain price, but they waited a little too long. They thought, oh, maybe July 4th is going to come around and we're going to have a nice sale on that. Instead, to their surprise, July 4th comes around and there's a $500 increase in price due to the shipping problems. Now, instead of regretting that they didn't order it before, now they're at the point where they can't order it at all. They can't afford a $500 increase. They could barely afford the price the way it was before, but they were willing to do it because how often do I buy this stuff? So, one company has figured a way around the shipping delays, and that's Home Depot. And they're third, fourth, or fifth largest retailer in the United States. And what they've done is they've chartered their own shipping boats. So they get everything on their own boat and brought in here so they don't lose any time. The problem with that is it takes away available boats for other companies and their inventory. And it drives the price up even further. Now, the fastest overall shipping, totally, is air freight. And it's not even affected by, in terms of how long it's going to take. Air freight is right there. You're shipping from Italy or Europe or India or whatever to the United States. You can have it in 24 hours. You're going to pay a big premium for that. And passing that kind of premium onto the customer doesn't work out too well. So, the bottom line, and it's a lot more complicated than what I've just conveyed to you in this short amount of time in this video, but basically, worldwide supply chain problems. We have car companies, new car dealers that have shut down. There's a chip shortage. So bad that they have to shut down. It's so bad that used 2019 cars are being sold for more than brand new 2021 cars because we can't get those cars. Lumber, bicycles, all kinds of stuff. Can't get it. Worldwide shipping problems. So, now with the Delta variant, things are going to get a little bit worse before they get better. So that's what we're in for. And I really don't want to be an alarmist. I am not trying to scare people, but this is what's been going on. This is why prices have been going up. This is why when you place an order, companies are telling you, anywhere from 2 to 6 months. Whereas before it was, worst case scenario, 2 to 6 weeks. It's gotten so bad that a lot of the vendors I deal with now won't even give me an ETA that boils it down to a certain date, time, whatever. Instead of saying, we're expecting this in by August 15th this year, they're now saying September, period, no date. They have no control over that. So instead of saying September 15th, they're just going to say September. If it comes in on the 1st, great. If it comes in on the 30th, well, we said it would be September. So this is the problem that's going on, and I'm sure a lot of you have placed orders for things like Kawai digital pianos, Nords, Casios, Korgs, Rolands, all kinds of stuff, and it's just not coming in. This is the reason why. It will eventually get here. It's just taking a long time. So I put this together because a lot of people are angry with me. Hey, you told me it would be here in 2 months. 2 months is come and gone, and you're telling me it's going to be another month or two. Unfortunately, that's what the scenario is these days. It's not just me. It's every vendor that you're going through, every retailer that you're going through. This is a problem. So I just wanted to convey this to you so that you know what's going on. Things are going to get worse before they get better. And I'm sorry to have to break that news to you. And it's hurting my business too. It's hurting a lot of retailers. So I hope this video has helped you out in terms of educating you in terms of what's going on. Piano Man Chuck, peace out. Thanks for watching.